truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we are live in the WYSL studio, and I've got Bob Savage here with me.
So you got all kinds of things to report.
I do. There's a whole lot going on. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. We'll talk about last show. We'll talk about what I was doing when I wasn't here for the last show. But before we go to that, I want to talk about something that was announced on Friday that is really, really important for everybody, and that's the Ben Wassell case. And to talk about that, I actually have Ben here on the phone with us.
Yeah, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, Ben?
A lot better.
A lot better. I bet. So, I've been talking about this for 3 months maybe on the radio, pushing people to show up to court and everything. So obviously Friday's ruling was extremely exciting to me, but I think probably way, way more exciting for you.
Oh man, it's such a relief.
Yeah. So why don't you take them back to the beginning? Just give them a quick synopsis of what's happened here, you and Ben.
Yeah. So Ben, why don't you tell us, give us a little bit? Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, maybe your military history, and then kind of explain to everybody on the air here, what this did to you and your family over the last few years.
Okay. Well, a quick background on me. I've been a volunteer fireman since I graduated high school, and went in the Marine Corps, did 2 tours in Iraq. I was a weapons instructor from pistols, M16, heavy machine guns, even grenade launching machine gun. And I was wounded in Iraq the second time, and came home, and 2 years later, they decided to pass that SAFE Act, and that's when things kind of got, a little squirrely for me. But when I was first arrested, it was pretty hard. It put a lot of strain on my family, and they terrorized my daughter when it first happened, and it's been pretty tough dealing with all the consequences since.
Hey Ben, real quick, what did they arrest you for? What was the violation in finger quotes of the SAFE Act?
The charges were for possession and sale of an assault rifle, which we know is a made-up term.
Yep, absolutely.
And yeah, so after being arrested for that, Class D violent felonies, people look at you different. For probably, I would say, a month or 2 after that, everywhere I went, I was getting dirty looks, and that didn't really bother me because, I believe what I believe, and nobody's changing my mind. But it was hard on my family. I lost my job after the conviction and wound up trying to work for myself for a while, and fortunately I had a good friend who put in a good word for me and got me the job I'm at now. But it was impossible to get a decent job.
What was the rationale, Ben? What was the rationale for terminating you because of this arrest? What was the problem?
It was an oil and gas company, and they had investors, and they were worried about their image through their investors. And my opinion after that was, well, if that's your thoughts, then I don't want to really be affiliated with your company either. So.
Sure. So if we were to kind of, give everybody a snapshot of what this did for you, I mean, you served our country, then you come back and you find that the rights you fought for have been taken away. in New York, and then you become victim of that. You lose your job, your livelihood, your family gets terrorized over this.
The worst part was, being in Iraq and having to deal with all that, we had to allow each household, even though we never knew whether they were a combatant or not, to have an AK-47 because they had the right to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So we had to defend their rights over there and come back and get mine taken away. Somebody who was proficient and practiced on pretty much every weapon in the Marine Corps. So, yeah, that was it was pretty upsetting.
Yeah. And you're not the first service member who's actually told me that, who's come from Iraq, who says, they're allowed one AK-47 per household or whatever the rule is. They're like, and then I come to the United States of America, land of the free, and find out that I can't even have that. It's a really, really rude awakening for anybody, I think, but especially those who have served and seen that and gone through that and put their lives on the line. And then that's how we repay that service.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that was the bad parts, right? Let's talk about the ruling. Let's, and talk about how maybe this is going to change things for you and for your family. And I'll just kind of summarize for the audience, and you can correct me on any of this if I have it wrong. The court essentially ruled, they didn't rule that the SAFE Act was unconstitutional, which is what I think we were all hoping for. But what they did rule is that the state attorney general's office acted unlawfully in pursuing your case in the way they did it because they didn't have jurisdiction. Is that a proper summary?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. It boils down to Jim Ostrowski did a fantastic job, and he had, I'm telling you, if you guys haven't read it, the list of errors on the attorney's part, the list of errors on the attorney general's part, the judge even made some huge errors that if this hadn't gotten overturned on the jurisdiction part would have really, really been, I think, landmark case quality work by Jim Ostrowski. There was such big errors made. The fact that they were able to rule on this jurisdiction, I think, was a relief to them because there was a lot of big rulings, I think, that would have really gone in our favor that unfortunately they were able to ignore because the jurisdiction part took precedence over everything. But the jurisdiction part in and of itself is also a lot more significant that people understand because the big deal here was they cut out completely the Chautauqua County Sheriff and the Chautauqua County District Attorney because they were afraid that they were likely to not prosecute or there was a possibility of them not prosecuting. So this hopefully will prevent things like that in the future because I don't know if a lot of people understand this, but the county sheriffs, there's a constitutional authority. They're above the authority of the state. So that will, I think, help a lot of people. Unfortunately, we didn't get all the rulings on all the issues, and I'm not sure if we can do anything to push that later on. That's up to Jim to figure out. But fortunately for me, that I can finally get my life back on track.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great takeaway here. And you're absolutely right. Jim's a phenomenal attorney. I've worked with him on a number of cases. He's actually going to be on the show Friday. So he's going to join us on the show Friday. He's going to tell us some of the legal things from his perspective, what he thinks maybe, how things can maybe move forward on that. But, I think that the big takeaway here, because I actually, ironically, the Second Amendment community and the Patriot movement, if you'd call it that, is kind of a little weird because I noticed some people getting upset that this case was won on a jurisdictional issue. And I was like, listen, guys, you don't understand,
A win is a win.
Yeah, it's a win. And they didn't understand the fact that, listen, this court ruling was not just like, oh, Mr. AG, stay in your lane. No, this court ruling reflected what I believe the purpose of government is. The purpose of government is to be small, limited, and to protect the rights of the individual. The purpose of government is not to regulate your life. And to me, that's what this court ruling was. It said, hey, this court protected your rights. So it looks like we have to take a break here. Ben, do you mind staying on with us for just a little bit longer?
Yeah, I could probably do it a little bit longer.
Okay, great. Guys, we're going to be right back here on Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Avon Feed and Supply announces a new taste in local cheese. From dairies in Livingston, Genesee, and Wyoming counties, enjoy Craig's Creamery Cheese from 8 family farms made right here in Livingston County. Craig's Creamery Cheese, simply made with all natural ingredients. Choose your favorite variety exclusively in our area at Avon Feed and Supply. Bottom of the hill, West Main Street in the village of Avon. MasterCard, Visa, and Discover cards always welcome.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like... Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're live in the WYSL studios, and we're just wrapping up a conversation with Ben Wassell here about his SAFE Act case. Ben, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got things to do. So before you leave the listeners here who are maybe worried about the SAFE Act. What's your advice to them, or maybe somebody who's gone through something similar? This has been 4 years for you and your family, I think, going through this?
6 since I was arrested.
Six, yeah.
I guess best I could break it down is we're not done yet. It's a small win, but it's a win. Actually, I wouldn't even say it's all that small. It isn't exactly what we wanted, but it's going to take a long time to get what we want to get out of it. And we have people like Simeon. He's going to be up next, which I think he maybe even has a better case than I did. So we can throw a lot of support behind Simeon and hopefully get his case won and maybe force them to rule on the Second Amendment. I'm not too sure my case is completely over with. We're going to see if we can still get some more ruling out of that, but I don't know the law, so that's up to Jim. But we all got to come together. You know, we have a lot of people working against us, and all these fragmented gun groups, pro Second Amendment groups. We're really going to have to get our act together if we're gonna finally win this.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, and I couldn't agree more. You know, there's the quote, divide and conquer, and I think New York State and our anti-gun policies have done that, and the Second Amendment groups being fractured all across the state have made it very easy for Albany politicians to be able to go as far as they have. So, Ben, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Continue good luck, and good luck with your family, and hope everything works out for you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you, fellas.
All right, Ben. Yeah. Godspeed.
Right.
Yeah. All right, man. I tell you what, the SAFE Act is so frustrating to me on so many levels. But when you talk with people like Ben and you see how it's ruined their family, you know, in one way or another, by either taking away their job, and by extension, taking away their support to their family, and really just making things hard on them.
I think it's evil. I think there's no other word, really, Andrew, if you don't mind me jumping in here. I think the word for it is evil. Yeah. It's designed to victimize the people who are least able to help themselves. It's designed, as you pointed out, to divide and conquer. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to toss in a word about that. Yeah. The gun groups, the organizations, they're having a tough time at this juncture. The NRA, well-publicized problems at the national level. It's no surprise anybody who's a regular listener to this radio station or who is tuned in at all is aware of the problems within scope in New York State. And I don't know about you, Andrew, but my feeling about this whole thing is any port in a storm. And what you want to look for is an organization that still is functioning and is focused and is moving forward. Mm-hmm. And at this point, there are many good options for you. And I would urge you to join and support Gun Owners of America. Yep. Great organization and very, very active in the gun community, Second Amendment community, and quite a track record of success. Yeah. And then you've got GOA NYS, which is not technically part of GOA, but is kind of
like affiliates, kind of.
Yeah, they're not the same organization. Yeah. There are state chapters of GOA. There's one in New Hampshire, I know. Mm-hmm. So join that, GOA NYS, and then the 1791 group in Western New York over in Erie County, although no matter where you live, sure, you can join the 1791 group. But that's an excellent organization. It's a what's that called? It's a
PAC.
PAC. Thank you. That was what I was looking for. Yeah. Senior moment there. But join those organizations and be active in them, and vote. You got to vote, folks.
Yeah. And in terms of activism, guys, let me tell you what you can do that's effective. Because I've been doing this for a long time. I know there's people listening to the show who have been doing this for a long time. But I know there's people who are listening who are maybe just thinking about getting active or trying to figure out what activism may be for these issues. Listen, these court cases cost a lot of money. They cost a lot of money.
They actually cost us twice because, first of all, we have to fight the case, and then our taxes pay the people who are opposing us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're paying for it twice. If you can find a court case that's important to you, I don't know which one is. You know, you'll know. You'll find out. Support that case if you can. Whether that's donating $20, maybe that's $50, $100, $1,000. There was a court case that I helped raise over $10,000 for. Some people donated $5. That's all they could afford. And other people donated $1,000, which was amazing. That's what they could afford. Nobody's going to look down on you for what you can afford. They're just going to be thankful for your contribution. And then reach out to your legislators. You know, let them know exactly how you feel about this. Tell other people, share it with them, ask them to support. And then the big thing, show up. And I know it's hard because getting time off from work is very difficult. And then many times the DA or the court will ask for a rescheduled date. So then people have to try to get time off on another day. Personally, I feel like they do that on purpose so less people can show up because it seems to happen all the time. But showing up and really kind of putting your money where your mouth is. For a long time, I thought that the money wasn't as important. And then the more I did, it just feels wrong, but the money is really important. So, I would definitely push people to support GOA New York. They're a great organization. They're the only organization in New York State that last year during the gubernatorial election actually rated all the candidates. They were the only one. None of the organizations did. Most of them just picked who they thought the winner was going to be and wouldn't even talk with the other candidates, which I felt was a terrible disservice. And I was a candidate, which even maybe gives me a little bias here. And I'll fully admit that and give you guys that side of the story. But GOA New York actually gave out a quality survey, actually collected them, and did an honest, straight up review of all the candidates, which is what I personally expect out of a nonprofit political organization. So I have a lot of respect for those guys, and I definitely, as I have money, I give it to them because I believe that based on their actions that they have the integrity that I want to fund towards fighting things like the SAFE Act.
GOANYS.com, by the way, is the site. Andrew, back to Ben Wassell's case for just a minute, and you were talking about the importance of public support. Mm-hmm. I know that we had solicited people on this show and in other places on the station to have a turnout at the courthouse and have a show of support. How important was that factor, do you think, in that case?
I don't know whether or not it's the judges pay attention to it.
No, I didn't mean that. But I'm talking about the importance of buoying up the defendant.
I think it's so important because, listen, I've sat in on a number of SAFE Act cases. I've been in the courtroom when there's only two other people there to support the person being prosecuted. That, when you're fighting this, you need as much mental and moral support as you possibly can because the state is taking away everything. I had a friend who, as soon as they got a job, they knew they'd have to start looking for the next one because the background check would come in within 2 to 3 weeks. They'd get fired. They had children. They'd have to then try to find the next job. So, showing up is important to show your support. When the media shows up, if there's only 2 or 3 people there, guess what? Story's probably not going to get aired. If it does get aired, they're going to say 2 or 3 people showed up to oppose the SAFE Act. It's not a good media look. You might not get the media at all. It's not good moral support for the person who's going through losing their rights and questioning whether or not they should continue trying to fight it. So it is extremely important. The thing I would say that's probably least important, and I hate to say this, I really do, but I think it's true. I enjoy going to rallies. I enjoy putting them together. It's a good rah-rah moment. But the media never reports them accurately. They'll say 500 people showed up when there's 6,000 or 7,000. They'll downplay it and use it against us as like nobody really cares about this. And I think that's probably why there aren't as many rallies anymore. We used to have rally in Albany, it seemed like every couple of months. But I think it burnt people out. People driving 3 hours, getting poor coverage.
Logistically, they're difficult and expensive, and then now the state has made them difficult to pull off.
Oh yeah, yep.
I know that the late Bill Noje got a bill for $30,000 to repair the grass on the mall, which is ridiculous.
Yep.
Of course, that never got paid, nor should it have. Mm-hmm. But this is the kind of thing that happens with those. And then you got the guy who had the cardboard cut out of the AR-15.
And the police got involved because the guy had a cardboard firearm, and it's just. So I would say focus your time and energy on finding a case to support and supporting 1 or 2 organizations. I think if you support them all, financially. I think if you start supporting them all, you might spread yourself too thin. And I know some of the organizations aren't going to like me saying that because everybody wants the support, and I understand that. But I found over the years, find one that matches your values, and that could be any of them. Doesn't have to be GOANY. That's just the one that I feel matches my values, and support them. Give them $20 a month if you can. Their annual membership, I think, is $20 for the whole year.
It is.
So anything above that, you're already going above and beyond, and you're helping a good cause. So that's definitely.
Actually, I think I could be wrong about this. I might want to check with Bill Robinson. You can contact him through GOA NYS. I think in the month of May, they've got a $10 sign-up fee.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So you can save in the month of May. You want to check with him on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I usually do, I'll buy a 3 or a 5 year membership up front, and then I'll still support them all throughout the year. That way, I know my membership's good. I know I'm supporting them. And if I can't make a contribution that month of that year, I know that I've at least kind of preloaded, the account a little bit. All right, guys. So we're going to take a real quick break here on Radio Free New York, and we'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
We'll treat you like family at Mark's Pizzeria. We'll treat you like family at Mark's Pizzeria. Great pizza, fresh and good. Simply the best in your neighborhood. Come in, we'll get to know you. Call you by name. We can bring it to you any time of the day. Mark's Pizzeria. We'll treat you like family. Mark's Pizzeria.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL, AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I was not checking the comments, so I I just took a peek, and there's a bunch of people in here. That's great. So I'm just going to give a shout out to a whole bunch of you so you guys don't feel left out here. So welcome to the show, Dan, Rod, Yolana, Beth, Jared, Lisa Ann, Jason, the Otsego County Libertarian Party, Michelle, Aniko, Christina, Jim, John, Christopher, Nate, Beth, and Tiffany. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I know there's some of you on Twitter as well. I can't see your names, and a couple of you on YouTube. I can't see your names either. But guys, thank you so much for joining us here. And of course, all of our people listening on the radio waves on the WYSL stations. We've covered a whole bunch, and I haven't even started talking about the title of this show, which is Police Covering Up Crashes and Planting Guns.
What?
People. Yes. So
this, of course, is taking place in Nicaragua.
Wouldn't that be something? No, New York State and Maryland. So we're going to start off with police covering up crashes. This is the more recent thing. This came up this morning, and I was sadly not surprised. So this started occurring, I guess, back in 2015. When this investigation started rolling, and stuff is starting to become public about it now. And the police unit under investigation for this, and where the stuff is coming to light, is Mayor de Blasio's personal security detail.
Of course.
Yep.
This is the mayor, by the way, who goes to the gym with a motorcade of black SUVs every day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, this is Mr. Green New Deal.
Yes. So, and that black motorcade is actually the center of this investigation. So here's what's going on based on what I've gathered, what I've read so far, what's publicly been made available. Essentially, what has happened is his security detail has been involved in a number of car accidents throughout New York City, and they've been covering it up because he has this zero vision policy, or vision zero policy, which is the city of New York must no longer regard traffic crashes as mere accidents, but rather as preventable incidents that can be systematically addressed. So this is his policy.
What does that mean? I don't understand what that's about.
I think what that means is he's being tough on vehicle crashes. Kind of like you got your DAs who are tough on crime, zero tolerance type thing. I think his policy that he's pushing is car accidents are absolute somebody's fault. They're not an accident. And if you're in one, you should have prevented it. So
is this having to do with just ones that involve his motorcade, or is this all accidents?
This is all accidents. This is like his political soapbox that he's been running on, this Vision Zero policy for New York City. So that's why they're covering up the accidents.
What's it supposed to accomplish? I don't understand.
I'm sure it's to just hurt the people who can afford to drive in New York City. That's my guess. Because New York City has this at this point, you have to be pretty wealthy to be driving in New York City because they're trying to put the congestion tax, all this other stuff. Parking is crazy expensive in New York City. A parking ticket is like $300-400. So to me, as I'm reading this is just kind of like, instead of tough on crime, tough on accidents, and if you're involved in an accident, it's like, they're basically saying it's not an accident. It was preventable. It's your fault. Like, being tough on those people.
So how does this manifest itself? Does this mean that everybody that's involved in an accident is at fault in New York City?
I'm kind of feeling like that's the idea of this, which is why they're covering up the accidents that his motorcade's involved with, because otherwise it's their fault, right? And he's the one pushing this policy very aggressively. So it's really interesting. But as I go through here, and I got to ask everybody who's listening to the show. So if you're listening online right now, and I see a few more people are jumping in online as we're talking, just go ahead and post in the comments. How many times in your life have you been in a car accident? And be honest. Bob, how many times have you been in a car accident in your life?
Like a personal injury accident, or fender bender?
Fender bender,
I don't
bumper,
know.
Sideswipe a car.
20, 30. I've been driving for 55 years, so
yeah.
I don't know.
Probably a few here or there, right?
Yeah.
These guys are getting in like a crazy amount of accidents. As I'm just reading through
Talking about de Blasio's motorcade.
Yeah. And I'm like...
Well, yeah, because he screams around New York City, with the light bars flashing. It's like he's like a Latin American dictator.
Yeah.
Which is, I got to say, this is what all these guys are like. The mayor, the infamous mayor of Boston, James Curley, was like that too.
Yeah.
And this is all thugs, whether they're American or Banana Republic, all have a similar MO,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I see people are commenting in, 3 accidents, 2 accidents, there's so 2 or 3 seems to be on average what people are putting in the comments right now. When I look through this, I mean, it's pretty impressive reading this article, just talking about the number of people that have been hit by his motorcade. And then they go ahead and put in the text messages between his security detail. And they're talking about ways to cover it up, ways, he doesn't want people to know that this happened because of this policy. So make sure nobody knows. They even have a message in here saying that nobody was allowed to know about the accident, not even other police units. I mean, that's how tight they were trying to keep the lid on this. And here it is. So then after one of these accidents, they didn't take the police car back to the station. They took it to his house, I guess, or wherever his meeting was. And so one of these messages from one of the officers to the team, sounds like they were in a group chat. He's peed off about people knowing the story of the accident, not the accident itself, and that the limo was brought back to Gracie Mansion. Is that where he lives?
Yeah, that's the official residence of the mayor. Yeah.
Yep. And he says, and the press guy could have taken a picture. So that here they are. They're just really upset about, the dents in the vehicles, people seeing that they're in these accidents. So it's crazy as you're reading through this. I wish I had time. I mean, this is 6 pages long.
This is interesting. I was just handed a note by Bob D'Angelo, our intrepid technical producer here. Since January, the local Livingston County 911 Center refers to MVC instead of MVA when you hear the calls on the scanner. It used to be motor vehicle accidents. Now it's a motor vehicle collision. I don't know what the significance of that is.
Yeah. Well, it could be part of this push that's saying these aren't accidents. You should have prevented it. So this to me is really interesting because, and I would highly recommend everybody go and search, just search, New York mayor car crash cover up, and you'll see the article with all the text messages here between the security detail, people talking back and forth about how they want it covered up. These are all stuff that has been made public now, these text messages, and the fact that they were breaking the law by not filing accident reports with the DMV. So there's a couple instances where people were sued. They actually have a diagram here that makes no sense whatsoever. It's cars stacked on top of each other. I should have put this up on the live feed for you guys. I don't have it available. But just these diagrams that they're bringing to court, and they're like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't follow anything. What are you guys doing here? Oh, subpoena the text message. Oh, you guys are legitimately covering this up. So to me, the big takeaway, I mean, we know that government is corrupt. We know that government, especially in New York, rated the #1 most corrupt for politicians in the country. We know that we have this problem. So what do we talk about doing to resolve it? It's got to be transparency. There can't be these secret units with no accountability whatsoever. The idea that they're able to hide accidents and not, put out accident reports even to other police officers in the department. It's going totally unchecked. There's no checks and balances. I think it's a huge, huge problem.
This is the stuff that's going on in Venezuela, ladies and gentlemen. This is what's happening. Maduro is in such trouble. He's so isolated that he's got these motorcycle thug gangs. Literally, they're thugs. They're a part of the the presidential security force or whatever. And they go out and if you're protesting the Maduro regime because there's no food to eat and there's electricity 2 hours a day, and the water's polluted and there's nothing in the stores. and you complain about it publicly, you could get whacked.
Yeah.
These clowns on motorcycles will come and they'll off you.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I wonder is, okay, so New York City, everybody likes to say how great and progressive New York City is. Toughest gun laws in the nation, all of these other progressive policies and laws. If it's so great, why do you need an armed motorcade to ride around? If firearms are virtually illegal there, why do you need an armed security detail?
You've been in New York lately?
Yeah, no,
Have you been?
I'm just comparing their policies and their rhetoric to their actions, because
the trash is awful.
Yeah.
There's people on this, there's thugs and dirt bags sleeping.
Sure.
It's like
New York City.
It's rapidly returning. It's rapidly returning to the era of David Dinkins. When Times Square was something that you'd be afraid to go into without a flak vest.
Sure. Yeah, so I just think that their actions speak louder than their words. They talk about how great their policies are, yet they need an armed motorcade,
Yeah, why is that?
Why is that? Why can't you be transparent about the actions of your security detail? There's a lot of issues here. Guys, we're going to take another break here on Radio Free New York, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Baltimore police planting weapons on victims that they've shot.
Nice.
So we'll talk about that on Radio Free New York when we come back.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. The people really make this place incredible. I feel at home. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. The owner of the business is actively involved. He is a veteran. We have a very close relationship with all of the staff. Every employee there is known by name, and we really, really work hard on giving that home feel or the family feel. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're talking about just government corruption, bad things all across the board. But before I jump back into that, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Wilson, who took care of the radio show for me on Friday. I guess he had a little bit of technical difficulties, so hopefully those who are listening online were able to get through the show. If not, I'll repost some of the stuff later today. But Kevin, thank you so much. He was talking about local government and different political offices for local government. So So the reason he was filling in for me was because I was taking my motorcycle safety course so I could get on the road with a motorcycle, which hopefully will happen this week. But I did pass. I've got my license.
Yay!
It's a good time. One of our extremely loyal listeners has offered to show me the ropes on his bike. So hopefully sometime this week I'll be able to catch up with Dennis and Debbie and get on the road.
So was this were you riding? What was it? What was the test consistent? What was it consistent?
So it was 2 8-hour days, and of the 16 hours, we're probably riding bikes 14 of those hours.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was after the first day, I was whipped. I mean, I was totally exhausted. It was a really hot day, and you're wearing the jacket and the helmet and everything and not moving real fast. I probably got up to 25 miles per hour tops in the parking lot, that we're doing all this in. So just kind of roasting, and it's harder to balance a bike when you're riding slower,
Yes,
so
it is.
a lot of just upper body balance movement. But it was a great time. I feel really good. If you're ever gonna ride a motorcycle, I highly recommend taking the course. It's through MCC College and the Learn to Ride program.
What kind of bike do they train you on?
So they had little 250cc, I think they were Suzuki's, kind of like a classic style bike. They had some of varying sizes depending on your height. But like an older style bike, I think most of them were carburetors, except for some of the newer-ish ones were fuel injected. But it was a good time, very much worth it. The second day it rained, so it was kind of like first day was like get smoked in the heat. Second day it was cold and rainy, so I was just like totally whipped afterwards. But really, really good experience, and I'd highly recommend it for sure. So that's where I was on Friday. So Kevin, thank you so much for holding down the fort for me. And what we're going to talk about now is the Baltimore police who were planting guns on people.
And who's surprised by that?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't want this show to come off as like anti-police or something like that, because that's not what this is about. This is about bad things that are happening, shedding the light on the bad things. There are many good police officers out there. There are many good law enforcement officers out there. But with anything in life, there are bad people as well. And I think it's really important to distinguish the difference between the two, talk about it, so that when bad things happen, the light gets shed on them and we can address those issues and fix them so they don't happen again. So I'm going to read you guys just a little bit of this story. The story is actually not a new story. It's just wasn't really covered very much, so not many people know about it. So it says here, last week, the beginning of an explosive corruption trial involving 8 members of Baltimore's elite gun trace task force. Once again, one of those kind of secretive-ish units that has very little supervision, revealed that a handful of Baltimore cops allegedly kept fake guns in their patrol cars to plant on innocent people. A failsafe they could use if they happened to shoot an unarmed suspect. So it then goes on to say that Detective Maurice Ward, whose RA pleaded guilty to corruption charges, testified that he and his partners were told to carry the replicas and BB guns in case we accidentally hit somebody or got into a shootout, so we could plant them. The detective allegedly came from the team the directive allegedly came from the team sergeant, Wayne Jenkins, and it said they didn't say whether or not the tactic was ever used. Yet as you go down through and you see more of the testimony, when these officers were arrested, all of them had these replica and fake firearms on their person.
So the way this would work was, I'm sorry. We had to shoot him. He had looked like a gun. Yeah. How are we supposed to know it was just a BB gun?
Exactly. And they actually would plant the evidence as it was convenient for them. So looking through this, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. I would highly recommend that everybody really take the time to look at this. It says that 6 of the 8 task force members charged in the corruption scandal have pleaded guilty to racketeering charges. 2 of them did not plead guilty, and it says they're currently on trial while several of their former partners testify against them. So this is just
6 out of 8's good.
Yeah, 6 out of 8 oh man. So this just goes back to these secret task forces, just like, you know, de Blasio's protection detail, with no oversight, kind of given unilateral access to whatever. There's no checks and balances in place. Although you could kind of argue that there are, since they're getting caught and getting in trouble. But how do you fix that? You know, you've now shot somebody, planted evidence on them, whether they live or not, tarnish their name, their family, destroy everything that person has. Later, you get caught for it, but how do those people ever get restoration if they even live through it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what occurs to me is if a gun gets planted on you, you're going to protest. Yep. No, that was planted on me.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of worse in a way, because I think it provides an incentive for them to make sure that they kill the suspects. If they're going to shoot him, kill him dead.
Yep, I agree. And the thing is, and I try to emphasize this at the beginning, this wasn't like a narcotics team or a drug team or a gang task force. This was their elite gun trace task force, which means these people were probably tasked with gun control and confiscation. And here they are shooting people who allegedly are innocent people and planting firearms on them. I can't think of a worse scenario for gun owners or anybody, you know, to have a task force out there whose job is essentially tracking down and hunting gun owners and shooting potentially innocent people and planting evidence on them.
This is stark evidence of something we were discussing earlier, actually on another show. You know, the Constitution of the United States.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah, the Constitution. You know what the Constitution is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. It's a piece of paper, and it only has any force and effect as long as the people who are entrusted with enforcing it and protecting it and making sure that the laws that are enshrined, the rights that are enshrined in that Constitution are vigorously defended. Mm-hmm. So if we put bad people in charge, ladies and gentlemen, and Andy Cuomo, I'm looking at you.
Yep.
We put bad people in charge, corrupt people, people who are only interested in power, people who are only interested in wealth. And that would probably comprise most of the major cities of the United States at this point, sad to say. Yep. Not all, but most of them are run by political hacks who are only interested in power and having their own little banana republics. De Blasio is the worst. Ladies and gentlemen, read into his background.
Yeah.
This guy's, not only is he corrupt and cynical and a power freak, he's a loon.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about him because I don't live in New York City, but I've never read anything good about the guy.
Well, first of all, his name's not de Blasio.
Well, there you go. Yep. So, yeah, no, and this is just, you know, I can't stress enough how important transparency is. And the idea, you know, I talk about this every once in a while, some issues I had traveling once with Border Patrol and this whole thing. And someday I'll share that story. But what one of the officers said while I was going through this is, they didn't think I was in earshot when they said this, but I was. And I could hear what they said. And they said, well, we're not accountable to anybody, so it doesn't matter what happens here. That's what this officer said, or the supervisor said to the officer below them. In any time when that is true, freedom suffers, and the citizens of the United States of America are in a terrible, terrible spot. Anytime that power goes unchecked, that is the foundation of what this country was founded on is a balance of power, a small government that's there to protect your rights, not regulate your life. And the moment that becomes untrue is when people become subjects instead of citizens. And that's what I'm seeing here in New York. I'm seeing it across the country. And it's a scary thing.
Yeah, be careful before you advocate for the derogation of any of the rights in the Bill of Rights. And by the way, we have pocket constitutions. You want one? Send a stamped self-addressed envelope to WYSL Box 236 Avon 14414, and we will send one to you for free. We have free pocket constitutions. You want one, and you should read it. You should be familiar with it. Read it to your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Radio Free New York. On Friday, we're going to have Jim Ostrowski on in the first segment to give a little bit more information about the Ben Wassell case. So I will catch you guys on Friday. Have a great day.